Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the books I've read in 2025. Before we start, I just want to say if you are part of the what about me epidemic, or just you don't have any media literacy and don't pick up on any nuance, and you're gonna be in the comments and just say things that clearly you did not finish watching this video or anything like that, I don't care. And we don't do that in this house. And I'm just gonna start this video off by saying that I'm gonna be real, and I don't know, I feel like it's gonna backfire on me. And this is like my first video of the year and getting back into YouTube. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I feel like there's other people out there that think the way that I do and would find comfort in knowing that there are people who agree with them. Okay, I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna start. I didn't read that many books this year, because the first half of the year I was still working at my full-time job and trying to get my photography business off the ground and everything like that. So it just was kind of a lot. I didn't have a lot of time to read outside of book club, which I started with my friends because we were hanging out all the time anyway. So, and a handful of us were like, we want to get back into reading. Like when we were kids, we used to inhale books, and I don't know what happened. I feel like my attention span is all fucked up. My dopamine receptors are like fried from scrolling. So we were like, well, we hang out all the time. Like, why don't we just start a book club? So we did. And most of the books that I've read this year are from that. Okay, so starting off strong, the first book that we read was Song of Achilles. And let me get my copy of it so I can show you how much I loved it. This is my copy of Song of Achilles. Okay, it is marked up front to back, back to front. And when I annotate my books, okay, not me. Hold on. Hold on. All right, sorry. That the bra strap was just gonna drive me nuts the whole rest of the video. But Song of Achilles, I cried. Okay. This book is so good. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. And the thing is, what makes this so beautiful is that you already know this story. You've read the Iliad, you've read the Odyssey in school. You know, like you have a basic understanding of Greek mythology, and you know, the Trojan War and everything. You know how the story is going to pan out, but you still keep reading and you keep wondering what's going to happen because it's told from the perspective of Patroclus. And if I say any of these names wrong and you're like a Greek mythology nerd, I'm sorry. Okay. It's very, what's the word? Not sapphic, but homoerotic.
Gay.
I guess it's very gay, but not in a way that feels like pandering. When I saw the cover of, I very much do judge a book by its cover because there is this epidemic of book covers that have this very specific style and they're very trendy. And I feel like all the book talk girlies are like, look, I'm a girl's girl, but if you have bad taste, you have bad taste, and I'm gonna call you out for it. I'm gonna clock it every time. There's this like, you know, like red, white, and royal blue, which was, you know, whatever, and just all these like young adult-esque things that are actually adult fiction, but it's just garbage. And I get having guilty pleasure. I get having something that's just a light read and it's easy and at least you're not watching TV. And it took me a while to get to that point of understanding that you can have that with reading. I've always been kind of pretentious about what I read and not realizing like, no, I can read garbage if I want to read garbage, the same way that I have guilty pleasure TV shows. Like it's okay. But I don't know. It's just writing is such a craft to me, and it is. It's an art. So when I'm reading garbage, I'm like, why do we waste paper for this? I don't know. I'm very judgmental about it. And maybe that's something I could work on this year, but I don't have a problem with people reading garbage. I don't have a problem with garbage necessarily being written. My issue is I don't ever want the author to think that they really did their number with that when they didn't. I want them to know, as long as they know they made trash, and as long as the readers and the fans of that trash know that it's trash, then I'm okay. I had to get some chapstick. I had to get some chapstick because I can already like see the comments now. It's like, you're talking all this shit and your lips are busted. Probably not. I don't even know if anyone's gonna see this video. But let me go back to analyzing Song of Achilles. If you don't remember from your high school English class or your college Greek mythology class, or you just weren't paying attention at all anytime these stories came up, Greek tragedies were originally told through poetry and song, right? It was written originally as a poem or a song or something. And this is straight up prose, but the figurative language in this, her diction, just the way that she crafts this story is so song-like. It is so poetic. It's just beautiful. And I think that it's really important to note that there's a reason for that it's not just some, fanfic about Greek hero trash, like this is this is literature. This is good. And it's paying homage to the original telling of the stories. And as I was reading this, I just was thinking, oh my God, like, how did she retell the story that I already know in a way that keeps me engaged? It's gut-wrenching, it's heartbreaking, it's beautiful. And I flipped to the back and it says Madeline Miller is the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller Circe, which, oh yeah, I need to add that to my reading list right now because I do want to read that this year. Hold on. Okay, sorry. Has a BA and MA from Brown University in Latin and Ancient Greek and has taught in both languages. She also studied at the Yale School of Drama, specializing in adapting classical tales to a modern audience. That is why it's so good. She's qualified to be telling this story. She knows what she's doing. And the fact that this is her first novel, the first one, anyway, I could go on and on about this book. If you are a literature nerd, read this. It's just so interesting to hear the story told from not an outside perspective, but a secondary character. It's not told from the muses. It's not told by Achilles himself, and it's not told by a Greek god or goddess. Like, he is kind of a nobody and is an outcast. It just goes from there. I don't want to say too much because even if you already know what the story is, it's like I just want you to experience it, and I get so excited about this book. Seriously, you have to read it. It's not smut though. That's the thing. That is part of what makes this book so beautiful too, is that even though there are sex scenes in this, it is very intimate and it's not descriptive in a way where the reader is supposed to get pleasure out of it, I guess. Like, there's points of tension where myself as a reader, I was like, blushing. I was like, oh my God. But it's not explicit, and they're so young in this book that I would say that the story is also a coming of age story, along with the tragedy of the nature of what the story is. And so when there are scenes like this and they are young, it doesn't feel like I'm being a creep over these teenagers that are having sex. It's more like, they're awkward and they don't know what to do. And is this wrong? And what am I feeling right now? And it's, what is my body doing? I don't know. My body is changing and I have these thoughts and it's kind of freaking me out a little bit. Anyway, okay, we were already reaching like 20 minutes of me talking about this, so I need to move on. I could probably make a whole separate video about why I love this book so much and go through everything that I annotated, but we're not here to analyze. I'm just here to tell you all the books that I read. So I'm sorry for taking up that much time. The next book we read was No Longer Human. Okay. If you... This is the part where I think I'm going to get canceled. No Longer Human is not a memoir. A simple Google search says that the novel, narrated in first person, is categorized under the semi-autobiographical genre since the characters in the book are all fictional. The novel presents recurring themes in the author's life, including suicide, social alienation, addiction, and depression. Okay. I hated this book. I just feel like I'm going to get canceled so hard for this. On Goodreads, I gave it 3 stars. In my notebook, I gave it 2. And the reason I'm settling at 3 is that I feel like I have to give it some leeway that it's a translation. And there are different translated versions out there, and we didn't research it. Like, we just found the book at a secondhand bookshop and bought it. And I don't know which one is the best translation, and I'm sure that it would be better in the original language that I don't speak and cannot comprehend. So I feel like I have to give it the grace that perhaps I would have enjoyed it a little bit more if I read it in the original language. And that's where that 1 star is coming from, which is a lot of grace. The 2-star part of that is that it is essentially a first-person perspective book of a man bitching and moaning. Okay? And you might think, Hunter, that is so insensitive. He wants to kill himself, and he was sexually assaulted, and he was all stuff. That is horrible. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean you get to be a dick to everyone else in your life. I am trying to bite my tongue so hard, but this whole male loneliness epidemic thing, and sorry for clicking my pen into the camera. I didn't mean to do that, but men do struggle with mental health, and men struggle with getting help for their mental health issues because of societal things of being a man and not seeking out help and not talking about these things. Not enough people have talked about it to where men feel comfortable talking about what's going on with themselves. I understand that. I also understand that this book is taking place in the 30s or something. I don't remember. I kind of blocked a lot of it out because I hated it so much. But the thing is, I can't stand when anyone does this, but I've noticed that this is an issue with men where they are struggling with their mental health, but they act like they're the only people to have ever experienced this in life, ever. And I'm just thinking, you're not. Stop romanticizing it. And in the whole book, he just is, the title is No Longer Human. And from front to back, he keeps saying, I just feel like nobody else, I don't even feel like I'm human. I'm just he's just complaining the whole time. And he's openly talking about how he uses people and takes advantage of people and looks down. He just thinks that everyone else is stupid because they're happy or because they don't experience the same sadness that he does and same depression and everything. And I just cannot stand when people think like that, because it's giving very much 25-year-old man does shrooms for the first time and has the same epiphany that every girl does as a child at 7 years old. It's just basic empathy. But the thing is, he doesn't really ever have that realization. He just thinks that no one else is mentally present just because they're not suffering the same way that he is or thinking the same things that he is. And that's just annoying to me. And then I had to think, okay, well, is something a bad book just because I don't like the main character? Maybe I'm not supposed to like the main character. I kept trying to look at this book from all these different perspectives to figure out, okay, well, is it a bad book or do I just not like him? And I think the answer is both. Because there's also not really a plot, which, as someone who loves memoirs, um, I don't really care that it doesn't have a plot, because sometimes novels are just a vignette of a specific moment that is happening, and I'm okay with that. However, comma, the vignette is him complaining the whole time. And it's just like, you don't have to be in these situations that you're in right now. Like, all of the things that you're doing to people are horrible, and there's no reason. Like, yes, I understand that you were like sexually assaulted as a child, that you were, all of these other things happened to you. I don't know. I don't think it's worth the read. I Part of that 3 stars is also that I don't regret having read it. I don't feel like I wasted my time with as short of a book as it was, like 150 pages or something like that. It might have been less, but it was dense. And I didn't like it. He's a dick. Like, I don't like it. I'm sorry that you didn't have Lexapro at that time, but neither did everyone else that was struggling with this shit, like, at that time. Like, there's no excuse for you to be like this. Anyway, so 2 stars. It sucked. Don't read it. I mean, read it if you have the extra time, but I didn't like it. The next book I read was Half Broke Horses, which is by Jeanette Walls. And going into the new year, the next book that we're reading for book club is The Glass Castle. And I did read that in high school and loved it. So anyway, Half Broke Horses is by Jeanette Walls. And I gave that 3 stars. And the reason why is because it was good. It was really good. And I thought it was very creative the way she told the story. And I'll get into that part in a second. But it wasn't something that I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to read this. Like, you really should read that. It's so good. I might would recommend it to a friend, like, oh yeah, I read it. It was good. But I wouldn't be pushing it the way that I would this, or the way that I am with Glass Castle. Like, Glass Castle was my recommendation for the book club reading list. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm really glad that I've read Half Broke Horses, but it's just not something I'm crazy excited about. So the thing that is interesting about this is that it is considered a true life novel. I was like, what does that mean? If you don't know, The Glass Castle is the memoir for Jeanette Walls. Half Broke Horses is the story of her grandmother, but told from her grandmother's perspective. But Jeanette Walls is the one writing it. So that's why it's not a memoir. It's not a biography, really. It's not an autobiography. It's a true life novel. So just as a writer, like, I just am really glad to have read it, because I never would have thought to do something like that. And I just think that it's very admirable, because to me, I'd be like, well, just as a fact, that's not what an autobiography is. It's not what a memoir is. It would have to be her writing it in order for it to be one of those 2 things. And if it's, I don't want it to be a biography. I want it to be from her perspective. So how do I do this? I can't. But she didn't stop there. She just wrote the story because it still is a good story, regardless of how many of these things actually happened the way that they did, or who's telling the story, or who's writing the story versus who's telling it. So I thought that that was really interesting. That's the first time I've ever read anything like that. And I do recommend it. It just wasn't like, 5 stars is crazy. Like, 5 stars is, it's got to be, you know what I mean? And it wasn't like that. I read that was a very quick read. So if you do want to just kind of knock out a book for if you're trying to hit a reading goal, I would recommend that. I think it's kind of underrated. I had never heard of it and I thought it was pretty good. Anyway, next we read Madwoman. Okay, let me tell you, Chelsea Bieker, whoever, how, I don't know how you say her name, but she's quickly becoming a new favorite. This book, we do our book club in like 2-week intervals, and we break up the chapters by like 100 or so pages just because that's what's manageable for everyone with work and everything else. It took everything in me to not inhale that book the second I picked it up. That is the first time I've ever been like, this is a page turner. When they say page turner, this is it. So I gave that one 4.5 stars. And the reason why is because the ending was not as satisfying as I wanted it to be, but the rest of the book makes up for it. I don't think that it was a waste of my time. I just kind of was like, are you for real right now? And that's all I'm going to say about the ending because I don't want to give too much away because it is kind of like a mystery situation. So the synopsis of that, I guess I didn't really give you a synopsis of Half Broke Horses. You can read it on Goodreads. We're moving on. I can't. Okay. The synopsis for Madwoman is it starts out. How does it start out? Because I feel like it kind of picks up like in present, like not present day 2025, but you know what I mean, like in the moment. The plot of the book is this. She grew up with an abusive father, and her mother just kind of like put up with it. Her father was killed, and her mother went to prison for it. And this girl, the main character, Clove, has just been living her life after that. And when she is at the post office, she has a shopping addiction that she hides from her husband. And so she has a P.O. box where she gets all of her items from and like shipped to. And she's there and she's gotten a letter from her mother reaching out to her from jail. And then it picks up from there. So I don't want to say too much, but it's really good. And she does do things that it's like, why are you doing this? But the difference between that and No Longer Human is like, she's not just talking about that nobody understands her. Like the whole time. There is a plot and there is more reason for why she's doing the things that she does. And I don't think that they're inherently bad where she is trying to ruin someone else's life or trying to be hurtful to someone else. She's trying to protect herself, and in turn it has consequences that, like, you know, your actions have consequences, and it's just kind of like this big snowball effect. It just keeps building on itself, and she just keeps digging a bigger hole for herself. I feel like I have to I have to be very careful talking about this one because it is kind of a mystery, so I don't want to give too much away. But 4.5 stars, definitely recommend that you read this. I had such a fun time reading it. The next book that I read, also inhaled, also by the same author, was Godshot. It was her first novel, and it's so good. And I gave that one 4.99 stars out of 5 because I couldn't commit to the 5 stars. It still didn't feel like, you just know when you're reading a 5-star book. You just know. You're like, wow, 5 stars. The plot of this is the main character, Lacey. This takes place in like California or something, or Peaches is the name of the town. Her mother is struggling with alcoholism, but has since gotten better since they joined this church, which is very culty. It's very centered around the pastor, and they're worshiping him, and like they have these assignments. And so it's also a coming of age story, because it starts out, she still hasn't had her period yet, and she gets her period very early on in the book. I am like comfortable telling you that because it's like within the first couple of chapters. And she's so excited because she's like, oh my gosh, I can finally get my assignment from the church. And her mother's like, do not do that. Just wait. Do not go tell them that you have this. Obviously, she does it anyway. And it goes from there. And it's just a disaster. It's another one of those things where it's like, I don't want to tell you too much. She kind of spends the book learning, like, just about her body because she hasn't had any guidance. And of course, she's a part of a church where it's like taboo to really talk about these things. All these fucked up things happen because hashtag it's a cult. And also, she starts kind of trying to deconstruct religion for herself. And it's not like in, you know, I don't know, whoever's watching this, whatever your beliefs are, don't be, frightened that it's like an anti Christian book. It's just she's trying to understand what she believes in aside from this culty version of Christianity versus what she truly believes about God. So I think that's interesting too. I really want her to write a memoir. I Googled if she has written one yet, and she has not. Madwoman does have snippets of like inspiration from her real life, but the consistency between, because I didn't say this, but her mom and Godshot, like, before she kind of gets saved by the church or whatever, apparently she's had all these deadbeat boyfriends and the father's out of the picture and all these things, which is very similar to the abusive father situation in Madwoman. And the the way the mothers are depicted in both of these stories leads me to believe, okay, I need to know more about your real actual life if you're open to sharing that with us, because there's so much like in tandem, I guess, between these two books that have nothing to do with each other that clearly are so heavily inspired by Chelsea's real life. So I Chelsea, if you're watching this, I love you. Please, please, please write a memoir. I am so interested in learning more about your life. And thank you for giving us the lovely books that you have given us already. So, Madwoman and Godshot, very quick reads. You will inhale this. It's good. Finally, if you've made it to the end, we are at the last book of the year, which technically I haven't finished because we're still reading it at book club, but we're reading like the last few chapters. A Discovery of Witches. I haven't even finished it yet, and let me tell you something, this is how many stars it's getting. Nada, bitch. It's bad. This book is, I don't even know how many pages long. The main character and the narrator, but also sometimes not the narrator, because sometimes she is like asleep but knows what's going on and it has nothing to do with her powers. It's like so weird. This book is garbage. It's a whole lot of words saying a whole lot of nothing. I'm just trying to wrap this up quickly because my mic's about to die and I really just don't feel like recording this again because this book just does not deserve the attention. I found my copy at a thrift store for like 75 cents, and that's exactly where it's going when we're done talking about it in book club. I have not even picked it up since the first chunk of chapters that we read because I was just thinking, this is a waste of my time. I'm going to listen to the audiobook while I do my chores and while I do other things, get other things done, because sitting down and dedicating my full attention to pages, like words on a page, not worth it for this. I cannot believe that there are more books. It's a series. What more do you have to say? Nothing has really happened. She supposedly has her PhD, the main character, but she acts like a 14-year-old girl. Like she's just dumb. And I feel like the author is spending so much time world building with vampires, monsters, and witches. Things, creatures that have been around in storytelling for centuries. And also, it takes place on Earth. What are you world building? Oxford University? Because that's where it takes place, also. Like, what are you doing? And there's so many, I feel like the general prompt of what the story is could be so good, but she just totally bombed. And when I read the story, it just tells me that, and not to presume anything about the author, maybe she's just a shitty author, I don't know. Sorry, that was kind of harsh, but like, You can tell that she's just not really experienced anything. And it is a white woman who's written this. And no shade, no tea. I don't want people to have suffered. I don't want people to have experienced trauma in their life. But when I say she hasn't experienced things, I just mean like basic human interaction or love or sexual tension or any, literally any human experience. It's just, I don't know. I don't feel grounded in a story and I don't care about anything that happens. Okay, now he's home for lunch. Hey, baby. Do you want to give a quick rating how you feel about A Discovery of Witches?
0.
Do you want to say anything else?
Don't read it.
It's a waste of time. It's garbage. It's not literature, which, again, nothing wrong with some guilty pleasure books, but it's a waste of fucking time. And it's a whole lot of words saying a whole lot of nothing. It's absolute garbage, and it's going straight back to the thrift store.
What's the lady's name?
I don't fucking know.
Oh.
It's somewhere. It might be on my desk. It's like, she has like a wine blog or something.
Vampires.com said it changed their life.
Yeah, vampires.com said it changed their life. It's trash. If you like reading actually good shit like I do, don't read that. Okay, everyone, I am back from my little lunch break that I was having with my boyfriend. I was having a little mimosa to celebrate the new year. Also, if you hear any rustling around, it's because my cats are trying to climb the flippin' Christmas tree right now. So anyway, that was the last of everything that I read in 2025, and I did want to go ahead and tell y'all what I wanted to read in 2026. So first up is Glass Castle. Like I said, that's the next book that we're reading in book club. So that'll be a reread for me, and I haven't read it in maybe like 6 years now. But the next thing that I want to get through is I have these 2 collections of short stories by Ted Chiang, and my friend gave these to me for my birthday. It was really sweet. She like annotated them, which is just like, I don't know, I think that's such a great gift. But one of them is called Stories of Your Life and Others, which is also the name of a short story that's in here, and also Exhalation is another one. This Story of Your Life and Others is the short story that was the basis for the movie Arrival, which the same friend that gave me these showed us that movie, and it is in like my top 4 in Letterboxd. It is amazing. I always have all these thoughts about the world, and like how time exists, and do we have the right understanding of how time exists? But I don't have enough background in science and like philosophy and also physics to really delve into that. But I am a very philosophical person. I'm always thinking about these things and just about how the world works, and trying to understand that. And that is another thing. Part of my TBR is, but I don't have it written down here. It's in my email somewhere. My old philosophy professor from college, I reached out to him for just kind of a basis of where to start getting back into it as a beginner and everything. And so anyway, The Arrival is like experience. You just have to watch it. I do think that you should watch that movie and then read the short story, because the short story is more like a guide for how the language of time works in the movie. And the movie is a depiction of an example of how that theory works that's talked about in the short story, if that makes sense. Anyway, I do hope to make my way through the both of these this year, because I know they mean a lot to my friend, and it means a lot to me that she shared this part of herself with me. The next book that I do want to read this year is Severance, which has nothing to do with the TV show. And it is also from the same friend that gave me these books. She got it for like $2 or something and loved it. She like read it while she was visiting with me and said that it was so good. So I'm excited to read that too. I did get here. Let me show you this copy. I also want to actually read The Handmaid's Tale. I have started reading this so many times, it feels like, through college, and I either had to like got bombarded with projects in school that I had to turn my book back in or something. I don't know. I don't really know why I never finished reading it, because I don't remember being bored and I don't remember not being into it, but for some reason I just had not finished it. So we did a lot of secondhand book shopping this summer. I found this copy of Handmaid's Tale for like $14, which is expensive for secondhand price, but I did get this because it has gilded edges in this ribbon bookmark, and it's leather bound. It's fake leather, obviously. And the title is embossed in it. And what other book do you know that usually has these features? The Bible, obviously, if you didn't know or didn't grow up in the church or with Bibles in your house. It's the answer is the Bible. And if you know the content of The Handmaid's Tale, then you understand why that is so um, what's the word? Not profound, like just important and very clearly intentional, and plays into everything that's going on here. I have kind of put off reading or like actually reading it all the way through just with everything that's going on in the world. I was like, I don't really want to read this right now, but I do want to read it just to kind of keep myself educated, even though it is fiction. I feel like there is some truth and what a world could become if certain events take place. So I do want to read this, and also I feel like just I need to have had read it. So yeah, I'm hoping to actually finish this, and the price that I got it for it being clearly a special print edition is honestly such a good price. There's three more on my TBR for this year, and that is The Sound of Gravel, which I think is another memoir, Killers of the Flower Moon, which is like a true crime book. And I saw the movie when it came out with one of my closest friends. He's like a film buff, and I loved that movie. Really good. You should totally watch that movie. And then I have a book that it's based off of, and I hope to read that this year also. The last one, and I said this earlier when I was talking about Song of Achilles, is Circe, because she does not have her own story. So I'm very interested to see how that pans out. And because I love Song of Achilles so much, I'm very interested to see the writing for Circe. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching all the way through. If you're offended by any of my hot takes, sorry. I don't know. Keep reading. Try to limit your doom scrolling. Every time that I start to doom scroll, I think, okay, wait, stop. Could I be reading right now or doing something else? And the answer is yes. So I hope you all read a lot. Please let me know if you read any of the books that I've mentioned, if you have any other recommendations, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.